Every night, just before closing his tiny bakery, an old baker performed the same quiet ritual. He wrapped one warm loaf of fresh bread in a simple brown paper bag. Across the front, he wrote only one word: pray. Then he placed it on an old wooden bench outside his shop. By sunrise, the bread was always gone. No cameras ever captured who took it. No footprints were left behind. The townspeople laughed. Some called it foolish, others called it a waste. But the old baker never stopped for 12 long years, not even once, until the night his bakery was about to close forever. When a single secret turned one forgotten loaf of bread into a miracle that an entire town would never forget. Willow Street was the oldest part of town. The sidewalks were cracked. The street lights flickered every evening. Most of the small family business had disappeared years ago. Only one remained, a tiny brick bakery with a faded wooden sign that read, Ilyas Bakery. Every morning before sunrise, warm light spilled from its windows. The smell of freshly baked bread drifted through the empty streets. People often said, if you follow the smell of fresh bread, you will always find Ilyas. Ilyas was nearly 65 years old. His silver hair peeked from beneath a floor covered cap. His hands carried tiny scars from decades of kneading dough. He was not rich, he was not famous. Most people barely noticed him anymore. But every customer who entered his bakery left with more than bread. They left with a smile, a kind word, or quiet encouragement they did not even know they needed. No one knew why Ilyas never married. No one asked why he lived alone above the bakery. Some stories are carried in silence, and Ilyas carried his quietly. Every evening, just before locking the bakery doors, he always baked one final loaf. Not for sale, not for himself, he carefully wrapped it in brown paper, wrote one simple word across the front, free. Then he walked outside, placed it gently on the old wooden bench beneath the street lamp, looked at it for a moment, smiled, and went back inside without ever looking through the window to see who would take it. The next morning, the loaf was always gone, every single time. No one in town knew who took the bread, but everyone had a theory, and every theory was wrong. Years passed, summer turned into autumn. Autumn disappeared beneath winter snow. Yet every single night, the same warm loaf appeared on the same wooden bench, and every morning it was gone. No one had ever caught the mysterious visitor. At first, people were curious, then they became obsessed. Teenagers hid behind parked cars, hoping to discover the stranger. One local newspaper even published a headline: The Phantom of Willow Street Bakery. For nearly a week, people stayed awake late into the night. Some swore they saw a shadow, others insisted they heard footsteps. But whenever they rushed toward the bench, no one was there, only the empty paper bag remained. The mystery slowly became part of the town itself. Parents told their children stories about the midnight bread. Tourists occasionally stopped to ask about it. Even delivery drivers smiled whenever they passed Ilya's bakery after sunset. One afternoon, a young police officer walked into the bakery. Ilyas, he asked with a grin, why don't you install a camera? The old baker continued shaping dough before answering. What would a camera change? It would tell you who's taking your bread. Ilyas smiled gently. I have never needed to know. The officer looked confused. What if someone is stealing from you? Ilyas dusted flour from his hands. If someone is hungry enough to take free bread. He paused. Then the bread already belongs to them. The officer stood silent. For the first time, he understood that this was not about bread anymore. It was about dignity. That evening, as always, Ilyas placed another warm loaf on the bench. He whispered something so quietly that no one else could hear. I hope today was a little easier for you. Then he turned away, never once looking back. Across the street from the bakery stood an old apartment building. On the third floor, a young journalist named Emma had just moved into town. She noticed something strange during her very first week. Every night at exactly 9 pm, the old baker carried a paper bag outside. Every morning, the bag was gone. Unlike everyone else, Emma was not interested in catching a thief. She wanted to understand why someone would spend 12 years giving away bread to a stranger they had never met. One rainy evening, she entered the bakery. Mr. Elias, may I ask you something? He smiled warmly. You already did. Emma laughed. Why do you keep doing it? The old baker looked toward the wooden bench outside. When I was a little boy, there were days when my mother had nothing to feed us. He stopped speaking for several seconds. The only reason we survived was because one baker left bread outside his shop. Emma learned his name. Emma remained completely silent. I never learned his name. I never had the chance to thank him. So one day, I decided someone else would never have to wonder if kindness still existed. Emma lowered her notebook. For the first time in years, she forgot she was writing a story. She simply listened. That night, instead of going home, Emma quietly watched the bakery from her apartment window. Rain fell softly across Willow Street. Exactly at midnight, a dark figure slowly appeared beneath the street lamp. The stranger picked up the paper bag, held it tightly against their chest, then disappeared into the darkness before Emma could see their face. She gasped. After 12 years, someone had finally seen the mysterious visitor. But instead of answer, the mystery had only grown deeper. Emma could not stop thinking about the shadows she had seen. Whoever had taken the bread moved carefully, almost as if they had spent years making sure no one ever noticed them. The next evening, Emma returned with a small camera, not to expose the stranger, but to understand their story. At exactly 9 o'clock, Elias placed another warm loaf on the bench. As always, he smiled at the empty street, then quietly locked the bakery door. Rain clouds gathered above Willow Street. Midnight came. The mysterious figure appeared once again. This time, Emma followed from a distance. The stranger walked through a narrow alleyway, crossed an old bridge, then disappeared into an abandoned warehouse near the railway tracks. Emma hesitated, her heart pounded. She slowly stepped inside. The building was cold, broken windows allowed moonlight to spill across the dusty floor. She looked around. No one. Then she heard daughter. She heard laughter. Children's laughter. Emma followed the sound behind a large wooden wall. She froze. Nearly 20 homeless people, including elderly men, single mothers, and several small children, were sitting together on old blankets. The mysterious visitor carefully opened the paper bag. Instead of keeping the bread, he sliced it into small pieces. Every child received the first bite every single night. One loaf became dinner for people who had nothing. Emma felt tears fill her eyes. For 12 years, the town had been searching for a thief, but no one had noticed. The hungry, she quietly lowered her camera. Some stories deserve respect before headlines. The next morning, she returned to the bakery. Ilyas looked at her as though he already knew. You found them? Emma slowly nodded. I won't tell anyone. The old baker smiled. I knew you would not. Winter arrived earlier than expected. A snow-covered Willow Street. Business became slower every week. Customers stopped coming. Large supermarkets had opened nearby. Fresh bread was now cheaper than Elias could ever afford to sell. Bills began piling up. One afternoon, a bank representative walked into the bakery. He quietly placed an envelope on the counter. I'm sorry, Mr. Elias, if the remaining balance is not paid within 30 days. The bakery will be closed. After he left, silence filled the room. For the first time in decades, Elias looked around his bakery with sadness. Every shelf, every oven, every wooden table held memories of an entire life, held memories of an entire lifetime. That evening, Emma visited him. You don't have to keep giving ahead. You don't have to keep giving away bread. You need every loaf now. Elias gently shook his head. If I stop now, I will remember that loaf more than all the others. Emma looked down. You may lose everything. Elias smiled softly. I have already spent 12 years proving. Kindness is not something you give when life is easy. It's something you choose. When life becomes difficult, Emma could not answer. Outside, snow continued to fall. At exactly 9 o'clock, Elias begged one final loaf for the night. He wrapped it carefully, wrote the familiar word free. He carried it outside, placed it on the old wooden bench. But before returning inside, he quietly whispered into the cold night, tomorrow may be my last. Across the street, someone heard every word, and for the very first time in 12 years, the mysterious visitor did not take the bread immediately. They simply stood beneath the falling snow, looking at the old bakery as tears rolled down their face. The next morning, Ilyas unlocked the bakery one final time. The shelves were almost empty, only a few loaves remained. He quietly began cleaning the ovens, knowing this would likely to be the last day they would ever be used. Outside, snow covered the old wooden bench. The paper bag was gone just like every other morning. At exactly 10 o'clock, someone knocked on the bakery door, then another and another. Within minutes, a long line had formed outside. Yas looked through the window in confusion. He barely recognized the face. A nurse, a teacher, a construction worker, an elderly couple, a young mother holding her little daughter. Even the police officer who once laughed about the missing bread. Emma stood quietly near the doorway, watching it all unfold. The first woman stepped forward. She placed an old brown paper bag on the counter. Across the front, one word was still visible, free. I kept this because 12 years ago, this loaf saved my son's life. Before Ilyas could answer, another man stepped forward. My wife was fighting cancer. I lost my job. Some nights, this bread was the only meal we shared. One by one, people continued placing old paper bags on the counter. Some were faded, some were torn, some had been carefully folded and protected for years. Every single one carried the same word, free. Tears filled Ilya's eyes. He had spent 12 years believing. No one knew, but everyone remembered. The final person waiting outside was someone Ilyas had never seen before. A young man slowly walked inside. He carried no paper bag, only a small wooden box. He placed it gently on the counter. Inside were hundreds of handwritten letters. Each letter told the same story. A family who had survived because someone never stopped leaving bread behind. The young man smiled. My mother was the person who first found your bread. She never took it only for herself. She shared it with everyone she could find. Eventually, the whole shelter became one finally. Ilyas could not speak. The young man continued. We all knew one day your bakery might need us. So for years, we each saved a little. He handed Ilyas one final envelope. Inside was a certified bank check, enough to pay every debt, enough to pay repair the bakery, enough to keep the ovens burning for many years to come. Emma wiped away her tears. Outside, the church bells began to ring. Children laughed in the falling snow. A carpenter stepped forward carrying a brand new wooden sign. Together, the townspeople removed the old faded sign. Moments later, a new one took its place. Kindness Bakery. Beneath it, smaller words were carefully carved into the wood. Smaller words were carefully carved into the wood. One loaf can change a life. That evening, for the first time, dozens of warm loaves rested on the old wooden bench. Every paper bag carried the same simple word, free, because kindness had finally come home. Sometimes the greatest miracles don't arrive with fame or fortune. Sometimes they begin with something as simple as a warm loaf of bread left on an old wooden bench. Ilyas never asked who took his gift. He never expected applause. He simply believed that somewhere, someone needed hope more than he needed recognition. And in the end, his kindness returned in a way he never imagined. If this story touched your heart, remember this: a single act of kindness may disappear today, but it can return years later and change the world. Thank you for spending these moments with us. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes in kindness. Until our next story, take care of yourself and never underestimate the power of one small loving act. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Take care.